Well, thank you.
A former Secretary of State, I just learned today. Secretary.
Well, and, you know, as we were talking about that, both you and I, as former statewide elected officials, have a predisposition to think that many of these things are handled better at the state and local level, and that should be where we look first. I have a prepared statement I'm going to leave, but I would like to say, first of all, this is an issue that has been around longer than it should have been around. You and I introduced legislation over 2 years ago, but it got a lot more attention after what happened at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. But I am persuaded on this topic that we can't expect people to successfully comply with 49 different standards. And I think that's where we are now, 46 states and another 3 standards and territories and other places that you have to comply with. That's an unreasonable thing to do, and it's probably an impossible thing to do successfully every time you need to do it. The other thing I would see as a hallmark of whatever we do would be that the Congress cannot be too prescriptive in how we secure this important information. I'm absolutely confident that the hackers and the criminals will be more nimble than the Congress. And if you put the code in the law, you just tell them the code that has to be broken, and then you've got to change the law before somebody can protect themselves adequately against the code itself. So I would think those 2 things are principal goals that we should try to achieve. As Senator Carper says, there are a number of different people talking about this, but and different committees of jurisdiction. Some of you were at the Commerce Committee just the other day to talk about this same topic. But we need to move beyond talking about this to finding a solution. I think it's really pretty simple. If a financial institution or a retailer or a federal agency determines that sensitive information was or may have been compromised, the bill that Senator Carper and I have proposed would simply require them to investigate the scope of the breach and determine whether the information will likely be used to cause harm or fraud. And then if the answer is yes, to notify law enforcement, to notify appropriate federal agencies, consumer reporting agencies, and the consumers themselves. There's clearly some discussion in the many discussions we've had on this about what level of breach has to be reached before you have to notify, and we're willing to have lots of input on what that number should be. I think the bill calls for one number, but that's probably not the perfect number, and frankly, whatever number we agree on probably won't be the perfect number, but 49 different compliance regimens, a area that has driven us from one of the most secure places to do business and commerce as individuals in the world to way higher on the list of less secure than we would like to be, is something that the Congress should be able to figure out a solution to. Senator Toomey has a bill that could very well be many elements of it added to the bill that Senator Carper and I have proposed now for 2 different Congresses. I look forward to this committee playing a real leadership role in working toward a conclusion. Surely we've just about talked about this long enough, and now it's time to find that solution. And I'm sitting here wondering if actually Senator Carper and Senator Coburn agree on 80% of everything, but they agree on some percent of everything, and they'll be the ones to figure out what percent that is, and hopefully we can work together and get this done. And thank you for letting me come by this morning.